For decades, personal robots have pretty much been the stuff of science fiction, right? Well, that is changing, and honestly, it's changing way faster than you might think. We are right on the edge of a brand new era, one where robots are moving out of those giant factories and, you guessed it, right into our kitchens, our hallways, our lives. So let's really unpack what this robot in your house actually means. Okay, wow. Housework is dead. Now, that is a bold statement. But believe it or not, it's the exact promise being made by this new wave of advanced AI. It's a promise that your entire to-do list, yeah, it's about to get automated. And look, this isn't some kind of far-off, futuristic dream. The robotic revolution is getting personal, and it's happening, like right now. These machines are being built specifically for the messy, unpredictable, and complex world of your home, not for some sterile assembly line. So let's kick things off with the physical side of it all, the brawn. I mean, how do you even take a super powerful industrial machine and make it gentle enough to handle, say, your delicate wine glasses? The challenge here is huge. It has to be strong enough to maybe lift a piece of furniture, but also have the finesse to not crush an egg. And this is really the crucial part. We're not just talking about prototypes built for a cool viral video anymore. Companies like Unix AI are actually scaling up manufacturing. They're building a real-world fleet of these robots for actual homes. This means they're solving those brawn challenges, developing motors that are both incredibly powerful and incredibly precise, and sensors that let the robot know exactly how much force to use. We're literally watching this technology shift from a lab experiment into a mass-market consumer product. All right, so having the muscle is one thing, but let's be real. The true magic is happening inside the mind. So let's dive into the brains of this operation and see just how these robots see, learn, and think inside a human environment. This is so important. We're seeing a big move away from what people call black box AI, where you don't really know why the machine did what it did. With interpretable AI, engineers can actually look under the hood and understand its thought process. And think about it. When you have a 160-kilogram machine walking around your house, knowing its reasoning isn't just a nice feature. It is absolutely vital for safety. So Unix AI has this system they call the Trinity architecture, and it's a brilliant way to understand how this all works. First up is perception, or uni-ouch. This basically gives it a superhuman sense. It can look at a glass and not just see it, but it can imagine how it feels, how heavy it is, how fragile it is. It's wild. Then you have learning, which they call uniflex. You don't need to be a coder. You just show it how to fold a shirt maybe 5 or 10 times, and it learns by watching you. And finally, there's the master planner, unicortex. This is where you can give it a big, vague command like, hey, clean the kitchen, and it's smart enough to break that down into all the little steps needed to get the job done, just like a person would. But what if these robots could do more than just your chores? What if they could offer companionship? Let's switch gears for a second, away from the brawn and the brain to what you might call the heart, the potential for real social and emotional connection. So meet Bako Emo. This little guy isn't a humanoid that's going to do your laundry. No, this is a social robot, and it was designed specifically for interaction. And it was at the center of a really fascinating study recently. The whole point of the study was to see if a robot like Boko could actually help combat loneliness in older adults. Now, here's the really clever part. The robot's responses weren't just randomly generated by some AI. They were actually crafted by trained human operators. This made the conversations feel incredibly authentic and empathetic, and it allowed the researchers to really test the power of having a robotic companion. And the results? They were pretty remarkable. For this 84-year-old woman, the robot wasn't just some private thing she kept at home. It actually made her existing social life richer. It became this new, interesting thing that she could share and talk about with all of her friends. For another participant, the robot brought structure. Just the simple act of a good morning and good evening greeting from Boko helped create this comforting, predictable rhythm to his day. And that can be so incredibly important for your overall well-being. And it wasn't just about feelings and emotions. The robot also provided real mental stimulation. Some participants found that the little quizzes and trivia games it had were actually a fun way to keep their minds sharp, like a genuine cognitive exercise. So, okay, we've got robots that can do our chores and robots that can give us companionship. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture here. What happens when all of these capabilities merge together and become widespread? I want you to think back to the early 2000s. If you told someone that a single little glass rectangle in their pocket would soon handle their banking, their shopping, their navigation, their entire social life, they would have laughed you out of the room. The idea sounded completely absurd. That skepticism? That's exactly where we are today with humanoid robots. The thought of one machine doing chores and elder care, it feels like science fiction, but the parallels are just undeniable. And that right there is the core idea. Just like smartphones went from being a single-purpose tool, a phone, to becoming this essential, multifaceted hub for our entire lives, humanoid robots are set to follow that exact same path. They're starting out as curiosities, sure, but they are going to evolve into indispensable platforms for our daily lives. But this kind of transformation is going to spark massive conversations in society, just like the smartphone did. We're going to have to ask some really profound questions. What does it mean for our privacy when a robot is always listening, always watching? How is this going to change our relationship with our aging parents? What does this mean for the future of work-life balance? And how will it reshape our social lives, our relationships? So the technology is no longer a question of if, it's really a question of when. These machines are coming. They will fold our laundry, they will provide companionship, and they will help care for our aging family members. The only question left is probably the most important one of all. How are they going to change us?